So guys, it is that time of year where we start bringing our potted plants into our homes, basements, garages, and greenhouses. And a lot of times we bring in a colony of ants without even realizing it. And there's a couple of things that you can do that will absolutely stop that from invading your home, anywhere that your living space is, and you don't have to worry about it taking over your pantry at some point. So I'm going to get these to the greenhouse and I'll show you the most effective way, the two most effective ways I know to stop the ants from living in your potted plants, and a lot of ways that are not effective, but there's a lot of stories behind them that they do work, but there's little evidence that they do. So guys, as you can see, this is only one corner of the greenhouse and it's still only partially filled. By the time all the bonsai come inside, I'm going to barely have walking room. But what I wanted to show you today is something very critical to bringing plants inside your home when it comes to ants. You want to prevent a total infestation because they may go from your plant to your pantry and then you've got an even bigger problem. So guys, I'm hoping the sound of the rain on the roof of the greenhouse isn't drowning me out. I had to shut the doors because the ever-present sound of leaf blowers throughout the entire neighborhood is echoing around the entire yard. So I think my microphone will cancel that out. But anyways, what I'm talking about today is two specific ways that absolutely work to keep ants from coming in your house from your potted plants. And these two products are completely safe, completely organic, and one of them we actually consume. The other can be consumed, but it's very rare that it is. But those two products will absolutely work, to one to repel and the other to kill. Now, since I have a very large number of houseplants, thanks to my wife, I also have even more bonsai in pots, and I'm always dealing with ants in the yard. So it's an ever-present problem in potted plants because they have just the right conditions for ants to take up residence. Perfect amount of moisture. They can go in and out of the pot to go get food sources, and sometimes there may be aphids on the potted plants, and that can be a food source in itself. So the first product I've used in the past, that one of the first things I actually tried was used coffee grounds, unflavored, and that had very little effect on the ants. Now maybe on certain varieties of ants it may repel them, but it's certainly not going to kill them, and for me personally it just didn't have much of an effect. Now, some people recommend cornstarch. I have tried that as well in the past. I put it around the perimeter of the pots, and I would only see ants go up to it, slow down for a second, and then walk right across it. And it had little to absolutely no effect on all the varieties of ants I have living in my yard. Now, another product that a lot of people say works great is peppermint, or the different varieties of mint leaves, dried or fresh. And I found that no, it didn't have any effect at all. Matter of fact, in one of my 4x8 beds, I actually had a small ant bed forming in the corner of that bed right next to the peppermint leaves, or the mint leaves. This particular variety, I believe, is chocolate mint, but it's just a fancy name to just mint. But anyways, mint, whether dried or an actual leaf sprinkled around your plant, has no effect at all. I've seen them walk right across it, and like I said, they actually took up residence right next to it. Now, some people have also talked about using black pepper or dried pepper or cayenne pepper. Also, I've tried that around the pots and it had very limited effect. Maybe on certain varieties of ants it might have some effect, but as far as from my personal experience, no, it's had none at all. Now, turmeric is kind of an interesting thing that I've tried because I did see some ants would avoid it, but eventually the ants would cross it once they became used to the smell or the odor. So it had no effect once they became used to the turmeric being on the potted plant, and it just didn't do anything as far as repellent. It would, obviously it probably wouldn't have any effect to kill them, but as a repellent, no, it doesn't work for me. Now, the product I have found a lot of success with not killing ants but repelling them from my potted plants is just common ground cinnamon. Sprinkle it around the perimeter of the pot and it acts as a great repellent. It will keep the ants from going into the pot and establishing a nest. Even when it gets wet, as long as you've got a nice barrier around the edges, once it dries out, it will retain that smell. Probably having to do this maybe once every 3 or 4 weeks in the summer will act as a repellent for keeping those ants out of your potted plants and ultimately into your living space. Now, by far the most effective product I've ever found for controlling ants in your potted plants that's not a pesticide, it's very safe, is diatomaceous earth. It's microscopic marine animals, and it's in a very fine white powder. When the ants come in contact with it, it will kill them. It won't kill them instantly, but they will die rather quickly, and it will absolutely prevent them from setting up a colony in your house plant. What you do, rather than making a ring around the edges of the plant, you just want to sprinkle it all over the soil. It's perfectly safe for the plant. It won't affect it. It won't change the soil, and it's just the best thing I've found to stop ants from living in your potted plants. Now, there's one thing I have to say about diatomaceous earth is once it gets wet, it loses its effectiveness. So watering, if you do a lot of watering in the summer, this could be something you're going to have to add a lot of during the summer months. But if you do it once a week, it will act as a preventative, and it will kill any ants that are in there at the time that you treat your house plant or your outdoor plant. Now, a few extra products I wanted to talk about because they're very commonly said to control ants in the garden is baking soda. And although baking soda may kill ants when they ingest it, if they ingest it, the problem is the sodium portion of sodium bicarbonate can damage potted plants. So if you're putting it in the garden in an open area where you're not in a confined soil space, then you may be a little bit more okay out there. But if you're talking about potted plants in that soil, you only have a limited amount of soil in the pot, it could very easily damage, the extra sodium could easily damage your plant, and also it may have a very limited effect on keeping ants out anyways. Now, previously I had made a video about controlling ants in my vegetable garden, and that uses borax and sugar, and that's a pretty common way to do it. It uses a special type of trap that you put it in, and it's safe from the rain, but I don't necessarily recommend for doing that in your potted plants. This is more of an open garden thing. I'll link the video up above for that as well, but I prefer the previous two that we talked about that were the most effective. One, cinnamon for repelling, and diatomaceous earth for killing. So another interesting way to repel and possibly stop ants from getting into your house plants is lemons, oranges, and grapefruit. You can zest the outer skin and then sprinkle those shavings around your plant. And some people say that that can actually interact with the ant's nervous system. I don't know that for a fact, but it's an interesting idea. But as I said, I like trying different things, especially if they're organic and there's no chance of being contaminated with my plant or myself. So guys, I just want to say thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you got something out of it. If you did, I hope you'll like and subscribe. And if ants are a big problem for you and you've tried something that really worked, I hope you'll leave something in the comments to let me know, because I'm always reading, I'm always experimenting, and I'm always wanting to learn new ways to do something safer and more effective than I do now. So have a great day, guys.